Emily waited for her first day at the new job with a mix of excitement and fear. A tour guide at a city museum. It sounded important, almost grown-up. Would she handle it? The night before, she'd stayed up late reading articles and notes, afraid she'd mess something up. But all her fears turned out unnecessary. The visitors that day were curious, friendly, even helping her out with a few questions when she lost her place. "So, how do you like it?" asked Mrs. Carter, the museum director, as Emily was getting ready to leave. "To be honest, I thought it'd be scarier," Emily laughed. "But I actually loved it. I think the group did too." Mrs. Carter, usually stingy with praise, smiled. "You did great. I even caught myself listening, not supervising. Keep it up, and we'll have a waiting list for your tour soon. Your parents must be proud." "Yeah," Emily whispered on her way home. "They probably would have been." Her small apartment, given by the state when she aged out foster care, was cozy but quiet, too quiet. She'd spent almost half her life in an orphanage. Her earliest memories of her parents were blurry flashes, constant moves, tents at the foot of volcanoes, the smell of campfires, songs under the stars. Her parents had been volcanologists. One morning, when she was 5, they left for a sample trip and never came back. The gas leak came fast, invisible, deadly. 7 people died instantly. Only a young intern survived because he'd stopped to tie his boots. He tried to save them, but it was too late. Emily remembered the cook from their camp, a big, warm woman, hugging her tightly and crying, "Oh, poor little thing, how will you go on now?" It wasn't until the orphanage that the other kids told her bluntly, "Your parents aren't coming back." After days of sobbing came silence. She stopped talking, barely ate, sat for hours on the windowsill staring into the garden. That's when he appeared, Jack, 3 years older, the troublemaker everyone avoided. His parents had died in a fire after passing out drunk with cigarettes still burning. Jack noticed the new girl right away. He'd overheard the teachers whispering that she was shut down, maybe even traumatized. A week later, when he saw her still staring out the window, something snapped in him. He caught a scrawny kitten that had been wandering near the orphanage and held it up by the scruff so she could see. "Hey, princess," he yelled through the glass. "Want to watch me cut off its tail?" Suddenly the girl turned, eyes wide with panic. She jumped off the sill, ran outside barefoot, and started hitting him with her fists. "Don't you dare!" she shouted, her voice breaking after days of silence. Startled, Jack dropped the kitten, who bolted into the bushes. The girl collapsed on the ground and burst into tears. "Geez, get up," he mumbled awkwardly, holding out a hand. "I wasn't really going to hurt it. I'm not a monster." From that day on, they became rivals. He teased her, glued her shoes to the floor, tied her laces together, bumped into her on purpose. She struck back where it hurt. Grades. Jack was hopeless at school, and every time teachers scolded him, Emily would whisper just loud enough for him to hear. With his brains, the only job he'll ever get is sweeping floors. Though he'd need someone to read him the broom manual first. He'd glare, but stay silent, because deep down he knew she was right. Their little war lasted until he aged out and left for a construction job up north. Maybe the cold will freeze some sense into him. Emily joked to her roommates, though part of her felt oddly lonely without him. Time passed. She finished college, then university. Now she had a steady job at the museum, a quiet life, no time for love, and no one special around, until Tyler showed up. After one of her tours, Emily turned toward a glass case to fix her hair and caught someone watching her in the reflection. A man, about her age, standing by the exhibit with a small smile. When she turned around, he stepped closer. "I never thought a story about rocks could be exciting," he said, genuinely impressed. "This might be the best tour I've ever been on." "Glad you liked it," she blushed. "Would it be too bold to ask you for coffee?" "I'm Tyler, by the way." "And you're Emily." "I cheated," he said, nodding at her badge. She hesitated, then smiled. "Give me 5 minutes." Over coffee, he told her he was a real estate agent. One of his clients wanted to buy an apartment in the same building as the museum and asked him to check how noisy the neighborhood was. "So, technically," he grinned, "I was just doing my job, but honestly, I think fate sent me there." Tyler was everything Emily had dreamed of: charming, attentive, effortlessly polite. He brought her small gifts, held doors open, sent good morning texts. She still couldn't believe that someone so confident and successful could fall for her. And fall he did, or at least that's what he said. When Emily opened up about her childhood in foster care and her parents' tragic death, Tyler's eyes filled with sympathy. "My poor little girl," he murmured, brushing his hand through her hair. "You've been through so much, but you're not alone anymore. You have me." They'd been seeing each other for 2 months, always at her apartment. "Tyler, when do I get to see your place?" she finally asked. He laughed softly. "You don't want to see it right now. It's a total mess. I'm remodeling so that when we get married, I can bring you home to something beautiful, not a construction zone." "Married?" she repeated, hardly breathing. "Of course," he smiled. "For more months, and the place should be done. Then we'll set the date." Emily's heart raced. But Tyler's real plans were very different. He was the son of a successful attorney and the manager of a mid-sized hotel. Ambitious since childhood, he'd gotten into college thanks to his father's connections, not his grades. His first business had crashed, leaving him deep in debt. Working at a real estate agency kept him afloat, but barely. Then one evening, he overheard something, a conversation that changed everything. His father, the attorney, was talking quietly over dinner with his wife. "Can you believe it? An old client of mine passed away last week. He left his entire house to his granddaughter, an orphan he'd never even met." "Why didn't he take her in when her parents died?" she asked. "He was a truck driver," his father explained. "Always on the road, living alone after his wife passed. He felt guilty that the girl grew up in foster care. Said at least he'd make it up to her in his will." Tyler's mind started racing. An orphan granddaughter. No family. No one protect her. An inherited house. He just needed one thing: to make sure she didn't already have someone in her life. Within a few days, he used his father's contacts to find her. Emily. Single, kind, lonely. Perfect. Within a month, she was head over heels in love. 4 months later, she got a call from a lawyer's office. "Miss Carter," said the man on the phone, "we've just confirmed that you're the sole heir to your late grandfather's property. Please come in to review the documents." Emily was stunned. "I had a grandfather?" "Yes." The notary smiled when she arrived. He was an unusual man, a bit eccentric, but he thought of you to the very end. "The house isn't fancy, but it's yours. Congratulations." She didn't even notice that the man's last name, Thompson, was the same as Tyler's. His father, of course, had no idea what his son was planning. That night, Emily rushed to share the news. "Tyler, can you believe it? My grandfather left me a house. I had no idea he even existed." "Wow," he said, pretending to be surprised. Guess you're quite the catch now, a beautiful heiress. Oh, stop it, she giggled. It's just a little house. But there's more. She hesitated, her voice trembling. I'm pregnant. 8 weeks. The word pregnant hit Tyler like a slap. He froze, then forced a smile. Oh, that's incredible news, he said slowly. In his mind, panic roared. A baby? That wasn't part of the plan. He'd already promised a daughter of a wealthy banker that he'd soon come into money. But still, he had to finish what he started. She'll sell the house, give me the money, then I'm done. Whether she's alone or with a baby, not my problem. Actually, he said, masking his greed as warmth, maybe this is perfect timing. We could sell the house, buy everything the baby needs. It's fate. Emily didn't catch the cold tone behind his words. She just threw her arms around him, glowing with happiness. 2 more months passed. The deed was officially in her name. She still worked at the museum by day, and in the evenings knitted tiny hats and socks for their baby. Tyler had been distant lately, but that night he stormed into her apartment furious. Are you out of your mind? He shouted, slamming the door behind him. Emily had never seen Tyler like this. He barged in, waving papers, then slammed a newspaper onto the table. Front page headline, no porch, no problem. Inherited house becomes rural clinic. Subhead, from inheritance to community care. Tyler, people need a clinic. Emily said carefully, we got a place to live. When I move in with you, we can rent out my apartment too. Move in with me? He laughed, sharp and ugly. You're even dumber than I thought. You think I wanted you? You and your charity case. He jabbed a finger at the paper. I wanted the house. You blew it. I'm out. Tyler, please don't leave us. The words tasted like salt. He smirked. You think I'm settling for a museum tour guide? The banker's daughter wants to marry me. Go tell your bored museum crowd another story. He swept the keys to her place onto the floor and slammed the door so hard dust rained from the hallway ceiling. Emily sat frozen, afraid to move, as if any motion would make her shatter into pieces, like a cracked porcelain doll someone had glued back together and stuck on a shelf. Tears tracked quietly down her cheeks. The hardest part was still ahead. A week later, the museum called. There's water flooding your unit. She ran home, only to learn it wasn't her. The upstairs neighbors had left for vacation. A burst pipe had flooded 3 floors. By the time a handyman broke in and shut the valve, entire rooms were ruined. Ma'am, the handyman said half tipsy, surveying the wreckage. This'll take months, and it won't be cheap. But I'm not at fault. Do I have to pay? Not have to, he shrugged. But if you wait for reimbursement, you'll be living with mold and frogs before the checks arrive. And where am I supposed to live meantime? Rent plus repairs was impossible on a museum salary. Emily packed a few salvageable things and called her boss. Mrs. Carter, could I sleep in the storage room at the museum for a while? Absolutely not, Mrs. Carter snapped, then softened. Text me. I've got a small place that's empty right now. You can stay there. I'll sign off a bonus and line up a crew for your repairs. The apartment was bare, just a couch, a table, a closet. The kitchen at least had a stove and a few dishes. Dry, warm, safe. 3 nights later, thunderous pounding rattled the door. Kathleen, open up. I know you're in there. A drunken male voice bellowed. Fists hammered the wood. Emily's mind blanked. She forgot to call the police and dialed Mrs. Carter instead. Oh, for heaven's sake. "Gene," Mrs. Carter groaned. "My brother. Don't be scared. I'm calling the cops." Gene slid down the hallway rug and started snoring. The officers arrived. Clearly not the first time. "Gene drank himself to ruin after our parents died," Mrs. Carter said later, voice tight with hurt. "He blew through his inheritance. I tried to help. He sold everything that wasn't nailed down. He has to want treatment. He doesn't." For 2 weeks, things were quiet. Emily checked on her devastated apartment during the day, bought baby onesies after work, tried to imagine a peaceful future. Then Jean was back, pounding, yelling, when the police were busy, panic roost in her chest. She started flinching at every sound, stumbling during tours, drawing complaints. At 7 months pregnant, Mrs. Carter sat her down. "Take maternity leave. Your place is almost finished. Go home and rest before you fall apart." At the store that afternoon, an impatient shopper shoved past her toward the checkout. Emily stumbled into a display of toys. A hot pain knife low in her abdomen. Voices blurred. Hands lifted her. Sirens wailed. "Fretting miscarriage," the EMT said. "Drive." She was admitted to a high-risk unit. A gray-mustached doctor frowned kindly. "If you want to keep this baby, you're staying here until delivery. Nothing heavier than a spoon. No stress. Not even a little stress." Nurses began bringing small care packages from a gentleman. Emily only knew one man who might send them, and refused them all. Her daughter, Aria, arrived on time. Perfect. Beautiful. Emily couldn't stop crying with relief. "You're mine," she whispered, feeding and swaddling. "Only mine." Discharge day cut like paper. Husbands and grandparents greeting new moms with flowers and balloons. Emily walked out alone, Aria in one arm, a duffel in the other. "Hey, princess!" A voice called behind her. Only one person had ever called her that. She turned. A well-dressed man in a tailored coat stood there, clean shave, model-sharp jawline, same bold, laughing eyes as before. "Jack," she gasped. "Give me the bag before you drop everything," he grinned, scooping it up. Emily clutched Aria tighter. "How are you even here?" "Been looking for you forever," he said, nodding at the folded newspaper in his hand. "That article finally gave me a trail." "Why?" she asked softly. "To pay back an old debt," he said. "And because, come on, Em, we're not kids anymore. I don't have to tease you to talk to you." He paused, eyes bright. "Truth? I've never been able to forget you. Not one day. From the moment you showed up at that window and saved that kitten. Yeah, I remember something snapped, and it never snapped back. And if I'd been married? If you were married and miserable, I have stolen you anyway," he said, almost cocky, then opened the car door. "Get in. We're going home." She slid into the back seat of a very good car, heart rattling like a coin in a jar. As for Tyler, when the banker found out what kind of man was circling his daughter, he kicked him out of her life without ceremony. The groom-to-be went back to showing rentals by day and hauling boxes at a supermarket overnight.